A few moments ago, I was live and apparently the voice was not working. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. Well, I know that you can see me, but can you hear me well? Let's see. Hello? I think it's working now. Hello? There you go. Okay, good. So I was just live and apparently my microphone or something was not working. Thank you so much for letting me know that it wasn't. And we were talking about something super important because I've been there. I used to be a hyper independent woman who didn't know how to receive, who didn't know how to accept support. Like I was always skeptical on if like this thought or this belief of like, hey, if he wants to help me, I'm gonna have to do something in return, right? This belief of like not having really support. And it wasn't playing on my favor. This when I started, when I began my divine union. Before that, if we really take a step back and actually see the story, I can see that before I was not attracting conscious men. They were really aligned with the person who I was back then. Because when you don't know what you want, you're kind of just like making other people make choices for you. Let that really hear that. If you do not know what you want, you're making other people make decisions for you or filling the blanks. Sorry, but I'm not that type of woman. So, why do independent women doubt themselves? Because they have this mentality of, if I disappoint people, I'll lose myself. They have this mentality of, if I choose myself, people will leave. They learned in their life their attachment patterns. If I didn't choose, if I don't choose myself, people will leave. They learned to not choose themselves. They learned not to be authentic. They learned that they needed to be um likable or palatable for other people. Why? Because maybe belonging was in the maybe belonging, maybe love, maybe attention was withdrawn if they didn't behave properly. Hi, Nina. Welcome in, guys. Let me know where you're writing from. We're doing a very interesting um subject today, and it's for that woman, for that hyper independent woman that doesn't really know her worth. Doesn't, I'm sorry, yeah, actually, yes, she doesn't really know her worth whenever she chooses to be in a relationship. We're talking about why the hyper independent woman abandons herself whenever she's in a loving relationship. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, thank you for joining me once again because for some reason my sound wasn't working. I don't know why. we're still testing some new stuff. So thank you for joining me once again. Okay? If you're a hyper independent woman, this video is for you. I'm shedding light on what I've been through because I used to be that hyper independent woman who didn't know how to receive, who didn't know how to receive support, who didn't know how to choose myself before. And I think that this will make sense to all women because at some point we lose ourselves in a relationship. Why? Because we weren't taught to choose ourselves. We weren't taught to be authentic. We weren't taught to listen what our heart desires. Hi, welcome in. So we were never taught like what, I don't even know where I left off. And this is the third like the video that I'm trying to do today, and I think this is a very important thing. Otherwise I would have been like, oh, maybe it's not the day, but maybe I'm here because a woman needs to hear this. A woman needs to hear that choosing herself is not going to cost her love, is not going to cost her something. I'm here because you were meant to be reminded that you can choose yourself and also get the amazing relationship. You get to be independent and also be in a loving relationship. You don't have to smooth things over. You don't have to accept the shade that other people are sending you. You get like whenever you're sensing that, us women, we tend to be very intuitive. The hyper independent woman, however, has been numb to her body. Why? Because she suppressed her feelings in order to work. She suppressed her body in order to work. Um, I'm going to go over the questions once I'm done with the thought and the message, okay? Um, so this hyper independent woman, this is an attack, like a way that we learned to be. This is not who we are. This is something that your nervous system learned to do to protect itself. Let that, really listen to that. Really listen to that you learned to be super hyper independent because you thought, because you made up this story in your brain that nobody would come and save you. Maybe you had a father or a mother who told you something and didn't follow through. I'm not right now, listen, I'm not blaming the parents. I'm not blaming the parents because they did whatever, the best they could. They did the best they could with the knowledge that they knew and they had at that moment. As they grow up, as they get older, people get wiser. However, in when we become children, we this nervous system is created from our past experiences. And being hyper independent does not serve us, especially if you're a woman. Why? Because you're meant to allow help, you're meant to allow support, you're meant to allow love. So, what does that mean? Maybe you think if I disappoint people, I will lose love. What happens if I choose myself? People will leave. If I want too much, I am selfish. Maybe you think if I make the wrong choice, I'll regret it forever. But what happens whenever you attract the conscious partner? What happens whenever whenever you have a disagreement with your partner, or instead of smoothing things over, he's like, "Wait, if you really want that, I support it. I don't want it, but I support it." You are met with discomfort because nobody taught you how to choose yourself. Nobody taught you, and then you're left like, "Hmm, I don't know what I want." Like, you're left with this feeling of doubt. Like, so many times I do this type of work, and women are just like, "Wait, I don't know what I want." What happens whenever we're left with that thought of like not knowing? Because nobody taught us how to choose ourselves. Hi, Fabian. Hi, Keith. Welcome in. Thank you so much for your mistakes. Um, DS Jay says, you need a moderator for the trolls. Yeah, I'm going to hire one. I don't even know. Like, we're just learning as we go. Okay. Let's go into, I, okay. So Keith asks, what's being an independent woman? Having a job? So I'm not really talking about a woman having a job. I'm talking about a woman who is hyper independent. She doesn't let love in. That's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking about a woman who doesn't have a job. What I encourage women to have a job. You know what? There's this saying that says, um, "A devil's mind, an empty mind is a devil's home," or something like that. You have to do something that you love. You have to do something like a job. I mean, I encourage women to have soul aligned jobs. Alex says, "Why are you not replying to the chat?" Oh, because I told, as I told you in the beginning, I would finish the message and then I'll go and answer you. Okay. Anyway, let's continue. Thank you for your compliments. Yeah, Robert says, "Empty mind is the devil's playground." That's the message, or I'm sorry, that's the thought that I had in mind. I encourage women to be independent, but not hyper independent. There is a mismatch. There's a anyway, let's continue. So being a hyper independent woman, as I was saying in the beginning, um, doesn't it has served you because you were able to, accomplish stuff. But whenever we choose to be in this aligned relationship, in an aligned and loving relationship, we don't, like I said in the past in other videos, like we tend to emasculate men because we think that we can do it better. So we don't allow men to just simply help us in their way. So um to understand your nervous system, you have to learn and figure out which attachment part patterns you have. when you learn which how your nervous system is reacting to other people, like, do you believe that you can do it all and you cannot ask for help, otherwise people are going to betray you? You're going to almost become authentic. So let's talk about which sorry, which partners are out there. Okay, there is controlling partner, and what would a controlling partner do? He would make the decision for you. A codependent partner would pressure you to make that decision, and an unconscious partner would manipulate you. But which partner are you currently looking for? We're looking for a conscious partner. A conscious partner says, what do you want? He's allowing you to make that decision. Hyper independent women like lose themselves because they do not know how to be in love. They do not know how to be themselves in love. They do not know how to make decisions for themselves that it's not going to cost them. So freedom can essentially feel terrifying. Why? Because your identity, if your identity was built around adapting to others, now there's nobody to blame. So, how do you become your best version of you? You get to actually become this best version of you whenever you sit in solitude and ask yourself what it is that is the answer for the question. You get to ask your non negotiables in a partnership. You get to ask whether you want kids, not what society is implying you must do, but what you want, what is true for you. Let me know if this is making sense. Anyway, to choose yourself can be really uncomfortable because it's something I've been learning for such a long time. Um, Whenever you've been brought up and maybe you think that some people like being true to yourself, what does that mean? We have to be like really to be able to understand each other, have to really like say what that means. Otherwise, it's just up in the air. So, what does that mean to be authentic? Is to actually to be assertive in what it is that you want. Some people, some women just go with their life not knowing, and essentially not knowing other people are going to fill in the blanks for you. Other people are going to make decisions for you. Other people are going to assume you just go with the flow. And at the end of the day, you resent other people. Like women, hyper independent women who lose themselves end up resenting their partners because they do not know what they want, or maybe they're afraid to voice it out. If they're afraid to voice it out in a partnership, like, how do you expect to be happy? You cannot. Your resentment it's a very low vibration frequency. You're going to attract misfortune. What do you want? To have a happy life, a joyful life, an abundance life, blissful and full of stuff, full of enjoyment. How do you do that? Raising the frequency. So a lot of people, was meant to do this video because I used to be there, and then another reason is that I often ask, like, women and about their situation, and they're just complaining. They're complaining and complaining. I'm just like, stop. Okay, I hear you. I hear your situation. However, what's like your best case scenario? What do you want? And they do not, and they often do not know how to respond. They're just like, I don't know. And then the next session, they're just like complaining again. Just like, stop. I'm not gonna know what you want. You have to know what you want. I cannot tell you or or make you follow what I think is best for me. No, you have to get to know yourself in order to get the most fulfilling life. Yeah, Alex says, yes, preach, girl. Logic says, the chase is better than the catch. Wait, what? I don't know. Let me know if you have any questions. Um, but in order for this authenticity to emerge, you need to have some solitude within yourself, some time to actually think what's um like what does having a fulfilling life mean for you. Alex, I don't really understand your question. Is that a question? Um, Warlock says, enjoy every moment because death is unexpected. Yeah, that's so true. Like, I think also be grateful. Being grateful puts us in a very high frequency. So giving thanks for another day, I think I find it very compelling, very like so fulfilling. Jordan says, absolutely. Anyway, ladies, if you are there, let me know if this is resonating, or send me a heart if this is resonating with you, because yeah, thank you. I see you. I see you. I see you. Um so to finish the thought, to finish like the reason why independent women doubt themselves. Yesterday we did another live that talked about women being anxious in this type of relationships, and it's more about how we learned how our nervous system is controlling us, how our mind and our emotions are controlling us, how even though we may want something, you are not continuing to do that work, because actions is actually at the end of what you have to do. You have to really understand yourself, rewire the thoughts, and in order for the actions to follow. I'm hosting a masterclass at the end of this month, and I would love to invite you to join, because we're going to the nitty-gritty of what identity is. It's actually essentially everything that has to do with becoming your best self. We're often so distracted in this world, and society like just keeps on giving us stuff to remain unconscious. So all of the bingeable content that you see, the Netflix stuff, the I'm not saying it's bad, but if you do not have a self-control, it's very hard to tune out of those um things that are out there. So I would love to invite you to this masterclass that I'm hosting at the end of this month. It's going to be so divine and so delicious, if you want to become your best self. It's for women who feel disconnected from themselves and are stuck in overthinking, repeating patterns in love, identity, and confidence. Okay. In this life, I'm going to guide you how to stop abandoning yourself, how to rebuild self-trust. Self-trust is not something that you um rewire. It actually takes time. And I'm being called to, I mean, I'm being called. Yes, I'm being called, but I've been actually doing the work and I've become the best version of myself. And also, I've, um, the result that I can say the most that I love is the version of myself that I was able to become. So, what else? Yeah. So if you want to step into the best version of yourself that feels magnetic, that feels secure, that feels um this best version of you, this is for you. Okay? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me and I hope to see you in the next one. Okay?